Everyone calls my baby a miracle. They just don't know the truth. When people see us, me and my daughter, they smile. They say things like, "She's your little blessing," or "Science is amazing, isn't it?" I nod. I smile back, and I lie through my teeth, because if they knew what really happened, they'd stop calling her a miracle. They'd call her proof. My name's Mara. I'm 33, and for 6 years, my husband Evan and I lived in the purgatory of infertility. Endless appointments, injections, calendars scribbled with ovulation dates, crying in bathrooms after every failed test. You start to lose track of how many times you say, "maybe next month," before it stops sounding like hope and starts sounding like denial. IVF was supposed to save us. It was our last desperate gamble before we gave up for good. We remortgaged the house, maxed out cards, sold the car I loved. The clinic promised results. They said we'd be in good hands. And when Dr. Holt, the director, told me he'd personally oversee our cycle, I felt safe, like someone finally cared enough to make it work. And it did, or at least it looked like it did. When I saw that faint pink line, I fell to the floor and sobbed. Evan picked me up, spinning me around the kitchen while I clutched that stick like a golden ticket. We told everyone it was science. We told ourselves it was fate. But science, I've learned, doesn't always play by the rules. Because somewhere between that clinic and the cradle, something went wrong. And it wasn't just biology. It was betrayal, dressed in a white coat and a smile. Infertility doesn't kill you all at once. It slices you apart piece by piece, month by month. At first, Evan and I were still laughing through it, the kind of naive laughter that comes from believing love and timing can fix biology. We'd light candles, make jokes about doctor's orders, and pretend it was romantic instead of clinical. But after the second miscarriage, the laughter stopped. I remember lying on the bathroom floor, cold tiles against my cheek, staring at the blood and thinking, my body failed him again. It wasn't just grief, it was shame. Evan never said it, but I could feel it in the silence between us. Every doctor appointment turned into a quiet indictment of me. When we finally walked into Holt Fertility Clinic, I was raw, empty, and ready to believe anyone who promised I wasn't broken. And Dr. Holt, God, he knew exactly what to say. He had this voice, calm, measured, the kind you instinctively trust. "You've been through enough," he said the first day. "We'll make this happen. Not we'll try. We will." I clung to those words like scripture. The clinic was sterile, all white walls and soft piano music, but somehow it felt intimate, maybe because I had to hand over everything. Blood, tissue, pieces of myself I didn't understand. Dr. Holt had this way of making the invasion feel almost gentle. He'd rest a hand on my shoulder after every procedure, meet my eyes, and say, "You're doing beautifully." And I believed him. Every single time. Evan wasn't good with the medical stuff. He'd sit in the waiting room scrolling his phone, uncomfortable around the jargon. So, Holt became the voice I trusted most in that room. He guided me through injections, ultrasounds, hormone crashes. When he said he wanted to personally oversee the insemination, I felt flattered, like I mattered, like he cared. The day of the final procedure, he asked Evan to wait outside. Something about it being a technical adjustment. I didn't think much of it. Medical boundaries blur in those moments. Modesty gets traded for hope. He closed the door softly, told me to breathe, said, "We'll make this happen today." He smiled, reassuring, professional. I never questioned it. Not then. When the pregnancy test turned positive 3 weeks later, it felt like resurrection. Evan cried. The first time I'd seen him cry in years. Suddenly, we were us again. We painted the nursery, went on evening walks, talked about baby names. We told each other we'd survived the storm. And for a while, I believed it. I believed Dr. Holt had given me back my life. It wasn't until much later that I realized he'd taken something too. Something I never consented to give. Lila was perfect. 10 fingers, 10 toes, lungs strong enough to wake the entire maternity ward. When they laid her on my chest, I swear I forgot how to breathe. Evan cried harder than I did. He kept saying, "We did it. We actually did it." For years, that was our story. We did it. We beat the odds. Lila grew fast. Curls like mine, eyes like his. At least, that's what we told people. Whenever someone said, "She looks just like her daddy," I'd watch Evan's face soften. It was the look of a man healed. Life moved on. The sleepless nights turned into school mornings. The grief faded into normality. We even joked about trying again someday, though part of me knew I'd never have the strength. Then last summer, everything cracked open. It started so casually. Evan had been watching one of those genealogy commercials, people discovering long-lost cousins or heritage surprises. He ordered a test for the three of us. "It'll be fun," he said. "Something for Lila's baby book." I didn't think twice. When the email arrived weeks later, I was cooking dinner. He went quiet, reading his phone, so quiet the only sound was the sizzle of oil in the pan. "Mara," he said, voice thin, "can you come here?" I walked over, wiping my hands on a towel. He turned the screen toward me. "No paternal match." I laughed. It was instinct. The absurdity of it. "It's probably a glitch," I said. "Those things mess up all the time." He didn't laugh. He'd already called the company. They'd rerun the test twice. Same result. My throat closed. "You're saying it's wrong," I whispered. "I'm saying it's not me," he said. The world went quiet. Just static in my ears. He was shaking, trying to hold himself together. "Tell me the truth, Mara. Who is he?" I couldn't even process the question. "What are you talking about? I've never—" He slammed his hand against the counter, sending the test kit flying. "Don't lie to me!" I felt the floor tilt beneath me. Images flashed, the clinic, the procedures, Holt's calm voice saying, "I'll handle everything personally." Could there have been a mistake? A switch? My stomach twisted so violently I had to grab the counter to stay upright. "Evan," I whispered, "I swear to God there's no one else. If she's not yours—" He looked at me, eyes red, waiting. "Then she's no one's." But even as I said it, a horrible thought took root. Something I hadn't allowed myself to remember in years. That locked door, that technical check, that voice saying, "We'll make this happen today." And for the first time since Lila was born, I felt afraid of the miracle that saved us. At first, I wanted to believe it was an honest mistake. A mislabeled vial, a mix-up in the lab. Anything but what my mind was starting to whisper. Evan wouldn't look at me. Days passed in silence, broken only by the sounds of our daughter playing in the next room. Her laughter landing like a punch. He started sleeping on the couch, then stopped coming home at all. I kept telling myself I could fix this if I just found an answer. So I called the clinic. The receptionist put me on hold. Then another line, then another. Every time I said paternity issue, their voices changed. Polite but stiff, like they were reading from a script. The patient coordinator promised to review internal data and get back to me. She never did. A week later, I showed up in person. The waiting room that once felt calming now looked like a stage set for lies. Smiling posters of happy babies, walls painted in sterile hope. When I asked to see Dr. Holt, the woman at the desk said he was on leave. No explanation, just gone. That night, I wrote a letter threatening legal action. I didn't even know what kind. Fraud? Negligence? Something darker? I just needed someone to listen. 3 days later, my phone rang from an unknown number. A woman's voice, soft, shaky. "Mrs. Carter, this is Elaine. I used to work at Holt Fertility. I think I know what happened." I stepped outside, heart pounding. She told me to keep this call private. She was retired now, living out of state, but she'd seen the headlines about medical misconduct. Not ours, but another case, and couldn't stay quiet anymore. Her voice broke when she said it. "There were irregularities in Dr. Holt's handling of samples. We were told to destroy certain records. He insisted on personally overseeing certain patients. Women he said he had a special connection with." My breath caught. "Are you saying—" "I can't say anything for sure," she whispered, "but I think you should get independent DNA testing." The world tilted. All those small moments I'd brushed off came roaring back. Holt closing the door, his hand on my shoulder, his voice saying, "We'll make this happen today." I used to think it was compassion. Now it sounded like possession. That night, I sat on Layla's bed watching her sleep. Her lashes curled over cheeks dusted with freckles. I traced the slope of her nose. Narrow, straight, Not like mine or Evan's. I'd always thought she had a unique face. Now I saw it clearly. The same smile, the same dimples, the same light hazel eyes that used to reassure me in that bright white room. It felt like a second violation. Not of my body this time, but of my entire life. When I told Evan what the nurse said, he just stared at me, expression hollow. So what? He played God? I don't know, I whispered, but I'm going to find out. He shook his head. You already found out. He glanced toward Lila's room, and I can't look at her without thinking of him. He packed his things that night. No shouting, no drama, just the quiet click of a suitcase zipper, the sound of our family folding in on itself. As the door closed, I realized the cruelest truth of all. The miracle that once saved us had just taken everything away. I thought the worst part was knowing my child's biology had been stolen. I was wrong. The worst part was learning I wasn't the only one. Late one night, after weeks of spiraling through online forums, I found a small Facebook group called Families of Holt Fertility. It was filled with women who'd once spoken about him the same way I had, like he was some kind of savior. I posted anonymously at first, just a question. Has anyone ever had concerns about sample handling or paternity from Dr. Holt's treatments? The next morning, I woke to 3 private messages. One woman, Caroline, wrote, "We were told he'd personally handled our sample too. My husband's DNA test didn't match either." Another, Rachel, said, "Our clinic said it was a lab error, but my son's eyes, they're the same color as Holt's. It's uncanny." We started a video call that afternoon. 3 women, 3 stories that sounded almost identical. Different years, same phrases. Personally over C. Special case. Trust me. When Caroline held up a photo of her little boy, my stomach dropped. The dimples, the hazel eyes, Lila's mirror image, Rachel's daughter too, same expression, same face. Caroline whispered what none of us wanted to say aloud. He told me he'd take personal responsibility for my fertilization. I thought he meant emotionally. We all went silent, because we knew. It wasn't an accident. He hadn't mixed up samples. He'd been creating them. Dozens of them. I filed a lawsuit the next week. The story went public, and overnight my phone turned into a war zone. Reporters, lawyers, strangers calling me brave, others calling me crazy. The clinic released a statement calling me emotionally distressed and misinformed. They said there was no proof of misconduct. They called me unstable, just like they always call women who won't stay quiet. But when I look at Lila, her smile, her eyes, I know what he did. And no press release in the world can rewrite that kind of truth. Evan never came back. The divorce papers arrived on a gray Tuesday, folded neatly between junk mail and a grocery flyer. No note, no closure, just a quiet ending to a life that used to feel full. I kept the house, not because I wanted to, but because I couldn't bear to move Lila again. She's 7 now, wild curls, unstoppable energy, a laugh that fills every corner of the room. She doesn't know the details, only that her father and I stopped loving each other the same way. Some nights, when she's asleep, I sit by her bed and watch her breathe. Her small chest rises and falls, her fingers twitch like she's chasing something in her dreams. And every time, I whisper the same words. You are mine, not because of DNA, but because I fought for you. Dr. Holt stole something sacred, my choice, my trust, the story I thought I was living. But he didn't steal my motherhood. That belongs to me, to every sleepless night, every scraped knee, every whispered lullaby. I went to that clinic to become a mother. I never knew I'd walk out as evidence.